Are you trying to decide what to put in a get home bag? Maybe I can help. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Lee, and this is Prepare for the Worst. Today, I want to talk about get home bag and what I think you might need. So let's get started. Those of you that have seen my other videos, you already know that I don't have much use for a get home bag. But I thought it'd be a good idea for me to put one together just to show you what I think it should look like. Well, of course, not everybody's going to need everything that's in here, and you might even need other things that aren't. This is just a basic idea of what I think it should look like. So you have to assess your situation, where you live, how long it'll take you to get home, and what is between you and your home. That should give you an idea of what you might need. We're going to start with a thermal blanket. I like the thick, heavy military style. Has grommets so you can hang it up. You have OD green on the back. If you're trying to hide, that'll give you a little shelter. And Mylar on the inside to keep you warm at night. If you can't find one of these or you can't afford one, you can get these little Mylar blankets. Walmart or any sports store, they should have them. It's always good to have some kind of a Mylar blanket with you. Next on the list is a USGI rain poncho. These can be used in different ways. You can either use it as a rain poncho, throw it over you and your pack, keep you dry if it's raining, or you can hang it as a tarp, tie up the hood, and you have something to sleep on. You should always have a USGI rain poncho with you. Next, you're going to want a single wall stainless steel container. This one is from Clean Canteen. It's a 40 ounce. This will give you a way to boil water, to clean it if you need to, or to heat water if you're wanting to make something. Next is cordage. A lot of people will disagree, but I suggest you always carry cordage no matter what your situation. You have paracord, bank line, or Kevlar. All of them are great. All of them have their own uses, but you should always have something. Next is going to be a good compass. You should always have a compass with you. Even if you know what roads you're going to take, if you have to go off-road, you might get lost taking different trails, especially if you're stressed. You might turn around and lose your direction. You always have something with you so you can find your direction. Next, we're going to look at fire. Chances are, if you're just walking home, you're not going to want to start a fire. But it's always a good idea to have a way to start a fire if you need to. I always suggest you have a Bic. That should always be your first way to start a fire. Next, you want waterproof matches. I keep them sealed in a vacuum sealed bag. And next is a ferrocerium rod. That should be your last resort. Again, you probably would never need it, but it's always good to have. Depending on your area, you may need different gear than others. If you live in a colder area, you might want hot hand or the larger body type. Always know your area and adjust your gear accordingly. Next up is going to be a good headlamp. I use a Petzl Aria 2. It's always good to be able to see where you're going and keep your hands free. Anytime you have electronics, you want to have backup batteries. Next is going to be a head net. These are used for mosquito protection. I live in Florida, so of course mosquitoes are a big problem here. Again, depending on your area, you want to adjust your gear accordingly. In my area, I want a bug net. Next is going to be duct tape or Gorilla Tape. I prefer Gorilla Tape. You can use an old gift card and wrap it over and over again so it's nice and flat. Has 1,000,001 uses. You should always have duct tape with you. Next is going to be a Silcock key. Again, depending on your area, if you live in an urban area, you might want to find water. Look on the side of a municipal building, and they have metal plates on the side of the building. You can use one of these keys to open up that plate. It's a cover, and it has a valve inside, and you can use one of these keys to open the valve. And even if the water is off, that building might still have some water in it, so it might be able to drain out and give you a little something to drink. If you live in a rural area or back in the woods, you may not have anything like that, so that's extra weight you don't want to carry. As always, adjust according to your area. Next is going to be a mirror. I like these little compact style. It has a magnifying mirror and a standard mirror. It's good to signal your position, or if you get something in your eye, or if you're looking for ticks or anything like that, it's good to have something with you. Next is going to be a good pair of gloves. In a bad situation, you could easily get nasty stuff on your hands, or you could hurt your hands, cut your hand. You don't know what you're going to be putting your hands in, what you're going to be dealing with. You might be grabbing a hold of glass or rusted metal, anything like that. You want to have a way to protect your hands. Next is going to be a notepad and pen, and I like to carry a Sharpie. It's always good to be able to write down information, whether it be keeping track of your area that you're in, what direction you're walking, the distance you've walked, or if you just need to leave a note on your vehicle saying, I'll be back later. It's always good to have a good notepad with you. Next is going to be a good signal whistle. No matter what your situation, you always want a whistle with you, a way to signal if you get stranded or trapped. You can only scream so loud and you can only scream for so long. A whistle, you put a little air through it and it screams like hell. Next is going to be a handheld light. On top of the headlamp that we have, we also want to be able to direct it with our hands if needed. Also, you want something a little bit brighter, something that can light up the area a little better. Next is going to be a set of tools. I always recommend you carry a Leatherman with bits on your person as your EDC. That should always be on you at all times. A lot of people can't afford these or don't want to carry them. So you should always have a small basic set of tools. Small pair of pliers and some bits and drivers. Just enough to make some small repairs if you need to. Next is going to be medication. If you take any prescription medication, you should always carry a couple of days extra with you, just in case you're out a little longer than you thought. Also, you should always carry acetaminophen and or ibuprofen, Advil, whatever it is that you're able to take. Getting a migraine or a headache while you're walking is going to make things much more miserable. Also, you don't want to end up with diarrhea. Imodium AD should be in every bag. Next is going to be medical. No matter what you're doing, you should always have a tourniquet with you. On top of that, it's good to have a SAM splint. If you're walking and you hurt your leg or your arm, that'll give you something to brace it with. Extremely lightweight, doesn't take up much space. Also, you don't need something this big, but it's good to have small bandages, gauze, things like that with you. Next is going to be a 3 mil contractor bag. They have a lot of uses. They're great to have in any bag. Next is going to be nutrient. The average person can survive up to 3 weeks without food, but it's always a good idea to have something for energy and electrolytes, especially considering you're going to be walking. You don't want anything that you're really going to have to cook. You want quick snacks to give you a little energy, a little protein. I like the Cliff Bars. Um, Tuna packets are a good source of protein. They last for a good long time. Just tear them open and you can eat them straight out of the package. Ramen noodles, they're terrible for you, but they do have a little bit of nutrients and they do have electrolytes. Boil a little bit of water using your stainless steel container. Put those in it. Let them soak up. Let them rehydrate, and you're good to go. These Mountain House meals, there's many different types of dehydrated meals. They're extremely lightweight. You only need one or two of them. You're only looking at overnight, maybe, so you don't need a whole lot. One or two of these, maybe one or two of those, a pack or two of tuna, a couple of energy bars, and these are Lipton noodles. Same thing as ramen. Boil some water, drop these in it, and you can drink it on the way, like drinking broth. Only it has a little noodles in it. It's a good way to keep your energy and your electrolytes. Next is going to be water. If you're walking for hours on end, you're going to need water. Of course, you're going to want a bottle with you so that it'll get you started. That's only going to last for a couple hours. You're going to want a way to procure more water later. So you're going to want filters and water containers. There's different types of filters on the market. You have the Sawyer Mini, the Sawyer Squeeze, the Sawyer Peak straw. You don't want the regular straw. You have to stick your face down in the water. You don't want that. The Peak series can screw on top of the Smart Water bottle and use it just like the Sawyer Mini and the Squeeze, or you can put it down into the source. Then you have the Grail that is a water purifier. You can take your pick, whichever one you want to use, but you do need some kind of water filter. Of course, there's others on the market like Catadine that work really well. So you just take your pick, whichever one fits you the best. Next, I think you should have a hat. Not a normal baseball type hat, but something that can cover all the way around. Something like this, or an old boonie hat. That'll cover your neck, your face, and if you do need the bug net, it keeps the net away from your face so the bugs can't get through it. Next is going to be a reflective vest. If you have to leave your car behind and you're walking down the road, you might want to be a little more visible so that other vehicles can see you and they don't run you over. Next is going to be a cook set. A lot of people tell you you're not going to need that because you're only going to be out for a day or two, but you're not going to be able to start a fire, or you're not going to want to start a fire. So I think it's good to have a way to rehydrate your meals if you're going to be out for more than a day or two. We use a bulk can pot with lid, and that'll give you enough water to rehydrate one of your meals. Everything that you need fits right in there. You have a portable stove, extremely lightweight, igniter, and a small fuel can. You don't need a big fuel can, you're only going to be out for a day or two. But with this, you'll be able to rehydrate your meals and have something to eat. You can boil water and make some noodles so you can have some electrolytes, things like that. Next is going to be a good sleeping bag. I like the Snug Pack Jungle Bag because it's small and lightweight, fits in the bag without a problem, but it's still warm enough to keep you warm at night. Also, it has a bug net across the front, so you don't have to worry about bugs crawling in the middle of the night. A lot of people are going to argue that you don't need a sleeping bag overnight, but if you're walking all day, you're going to want a good night's rest. Next is going to be a compact puffer coat. Lightweight, doesn't take up a lot of room, squishes easy, no big deal. You may not need that in a warmer climate, but if you live in a colder area, you want a way to cover up, especially at night. Next is going to be a pair of sunglasses. Obviously, if you're walking during the day, you want a way to protect your eyes. Because walking in the sun all day will destroy your eyes. Now, you don't have to look as cool as me, but you do need a way to protect yourself. Next is going to be a shamag or a cotton bandana. They have a lot of uses. Anything from protecting your face from dust and smoke, to pre-filtering your water, to carrying sticks. You should always have some form of cotton bandana or a shamag with you. Next is going to be a face mask. Not for COVID. I know everybody's tired of hearing about it, but smoke and dust can make it very hard for you to breathe. So you should always have a mask with you. I always carry one in my pocket, so I don't need to keep one in my bag. But if you don't carry one with you, you should always have it in your bag. Next is going to be a microfiber towel. If you get rained on, or you walk to a puddle, anything like that, you end up a little bit wet, you want to be able to wipe yourself off. You sweat, you want to be able to wipe off. Otherwise, your skin starts to wrinkle, gets sensitive, causes you more problems. They're lightweight, real thin, doesn't take up much room. Next can go along with your medical. It's moleskin to prevent or treat blisters on your feet. You're walking a lot, your feet are going to sweat, they're going to get hot, you build up hot spots, and those hot spots turn into blisters. Have a little bit of moleskin with you to help take care of that, make your life a whole lot easier. Next is going to be silverware. You're probably not going to need a fork, but you do want to have a spoon with you because you have your dehydrated meals, you have ramen noodle, and you have your tuna. You want a way to be able to eat those. Otherwise, you're going to be using it. You don't want to do that. Next is going to be wet wipes. Again, you don't know what you're going to be putting your hands in, so you want to be able to wipe off that bacteria so that you can. Next is going to be a battery bank. Of course, everybody needs to charge their phone, flashlights, things like that. So it's always a good idea to have a battery bank with you. I also carry this little kit. Has all the adapters with a small cord, so I can charge anything with micro USB, USB-C, or the lightning charger for the iPhone. Everything is all in that one little kit. Next is a short piece of hose that's just cut off at the end. If you're using the Silcock key to access water through the municipal building, you want to use something like this to direct the water into your bottle. Otherwise, when you open it, it's just going to spray everywhere. Obviously, not 100% necessary, but it's definitely helpful. Next is going to be 6 lightweight aluminum tent stakes. These can be used for setting up your poncho as a tarp to give you a little bit of cover, or the thermal blanket so you can have a little bit of cover. You don't want to be making things like that when you're trying to get home. So having a few lightweight tent stakes with you is a good idea. They don't take up much room and they don't weigh much. Next is going to be toilet paper. Obviously, if you're out for a day, maybe two, you may end up having to use the bathroom, and you don't want to be wiping with a pine cone. So I take a roll of toilet paper, pull the cardboard out, smash it down, and vacuum seal it. That keeps it nice and tight so it'll fit in the bag, and I always have it with me. Other option would be these Wizzy wipes. They're little tablets. Put a little bit of water on them, and they expand out into a sheet. That'll give you a moist towel to wipe with. Next is going to be a pack cover. It may not be 100% necessary, but I think it's a good idea because you don't want your bag getting wet if it starts raining. So keeping something like this in the bag, if it's getting ready to rain, you pull it out, throw it over your pack, tighten it down, put your bag back on, and now your bag is protected. It's a good thing to have. Not 100% necessary, but it's good. Next is going to be a lightweight inflatable pillow. Not 100% necessary. You can always make a pillow out of your garbage bag, its leaves, or your backpack, or anything like that. But I like to have a inflatable pillow because it doesn't take up a lot of space, not very heavy, not it's easy to fill, and it's a whole lot better than sleeping on the ground. Next is going to be a monocular. Depending on the situation, you might want to be able to look ahead to see what's going on in front of you. There's any number of possibilities. Stop traffic, riots up ahead, anything like that. So you want to be able to see what's going on so you can decide whether or not you want to go in that direction. Next is going to be some chem lights. You can get these from Amazon, sporting goods stores, Walmart, anything like that. They're good to have with you. You can see what you're doing, have a little bit of close light. You can use them as a signal, tie a string to them and swing them around, or you can drop them on the ground as a marker. But it's always a good idea to have a couple with you. Next is going to be communication. If you have a ham radio and you have somebody at home waiting for you, your phone dies or anything like that, you can still have a way to communicate. Let them know what's going on, where you are, things like that. Also, if you have somebody with you, you may want to give them a radio and you keep a radio. If you get separated, you have to go to the bathroom or anything like that, you have a way to communicate with them. Aside from that, if you don't need to communicate with anyone, you can always leave them in the car. You also want to carry any accessories that you might need for your radios and some spare batteries. Now, the last thing on the list is a change of clothes and shoes. Of course, you don't necessarily have to keep them in the bag, but it's a good idea to have them in the car with you. A good pair of shoes that you can walk in, either good walking shoes or trail shoes, depending on where you're going to be walking, and a comfortable pair of clothes, of course, fitting your environment. All of this gear, aside from the IFAC, clothes, and shoes, will fit in the bag. I'm sure some of you are going to say, this is too much gear, it's too heavy, there's something that you don't need, and I'm sure you're right. These are just some of my ideas as to what you can put in a get-home bag. Of course, you're going to have to adjust your bag according to your situation and according to your area. I hope this helps, and I hope to see you on the next video. Hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Y'all have a good day.